Mask Collector. Subscribe and like this video now.
What up guys, Nate with Mask Collector here. A little bit different video today. Kind of goes with my name, Mask Collector. A lot of different things I kind of get into. One of those things a couple years ago, last fall, last winter, I had a pair of Jordan 4s that were really dirty. I wanted to get them cleaned up. Came across this video by Rejuvenator, and they have cleaning supplies for sneakers. So I ordered up a kit, cleaned them up, and they looked really, really good. So I figured, hey, you know, they also had other videos of Vic Almighty doing restorations on sneakers and custom sneakers, you know, from brand new pairs, things like that. And I was really getting into it, really enjoyed it because I'm such a sneakerhead to begin with. You know, I collected Jordan sneakers for about 5 years, even longer than that, but really the last, you know, since 2016 I was really into it. Specifically Jordans, Jordan 1s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s mainly. That's kind of the era that I grew up in. So my first pair of Jordans were 4 white cements in 1989 when I was in 8th grade. You know, when I got a pair of those, it was great. So anyways, this year has been primarily sports cards that I've been focusing on, just because it's been so hot and I kind of wanted to get in there before it was too late, and I definitely did. So got some really good things cooking there. You know, sometimes you just get not really bored with it. You just stumble upon something new that takes your interest away from something that you were interested really in the year before. And I figure, hey, why don't I try to combine the two together? So here we are. I'm going to show you how to customize your own Jordan 1 sneakers to sort of resemble the Jordan rookie card. The colors, design, things like that. So what I have is everything I need right here. First, obviously, you know, the inspiration is the FLEER Jordan rookie. Now this is just a reprint, of course. I don't have an actual 86 rookie yet, but this one here is just, you know, a reprint, but you know, the colors and everything just kind of show what we're trying to achieve here. So we got that. Of course, we have for prep, we got masking tape if we need it. You basically use this just to kind of mask off some areas so you don't get paint on them. Some cotton balls, which we're going to use for cleaning and prepping the shoe. And when we prep it, we're going to use some Angelus leather prepare and deglazer. You can also use acetone as well. Other things from Angelus, we got paint, right? So we got flat white and flat black. Obviously there's white and black in here. We got some light blue, which will be used for the spot at the bottom where Jordan's name is. So it's pretty similar in color. It's not dead on, but it's very close, so we can kind of adjust some things in there to get as close as possible. Again, this is a reprint, so it's probably not actual color that's on an actual rookie, but it's going to be close enough. Blue, again, not exactly the same, but we're going to use some gray and some other colors if we need them to make that kind of grayish blue color there on the card. Red, yellow, and then I got some collector edition Angelus
Do the Right Thing colorway and the Jordan 3s.
And then if you look at this FLEER symbol here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but the little arrow shape there is a little bit darker yellow than the rest of it. So that's what that's for. Again, we don't want to get too involved with mixing colors and things. I mean, it's pretty standard red, white, and blue, and yellow, you know, for the most part, black and white. So that's what we're going to be using. This here is some scratch resistant sealer that's made by Raleigh Restorations. We're going to end up painting the top line of the midsole on these shoes, and then after every coat we'll go over it with this, and this is a protectant, and it's amazing. So you can, once you get, you know, 5 or 6 coats of this stuff, you know, back and forth between the paint and this to seal it off, it's super durable and it won't scratch off when you wear them. So yeah, again, these will be totally wearable shoes if you want to, or you can set them on the shelf or whatever you want to do. Paper towels, definitely will need those, you know, as you kind of work through stuff. Paint brushes, obviously. Recommending just some angular brushes in different sizes. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. Definitely test them out, different sizes. Don't go overboard and buy a whole boatload of them. You know, some standard ones, you know, not huge ones, but you know, there's gonna be little spots in these shoes that you're gonna be painting into, and you're gonna wanna be precise in some instances. So you might need small ones, but for the most part, we'll just be using a couple of these larger ones back here. And then I got a fabric tape measure. We're gonna need this to measure off some parts of the shoe. And what we're gonna use that for is to figure out how large of a stencil we're gonna need to make on our Cricut machine. We have a Cricut maker. It's a vinyl cutter. So I used it on some previous shoes that I did. Cut out some stencils, put them on there, and painted, you know, using that to kind of figure out where everything's gonna fit, and it's a lot easier to paint. You don't have to be super, you know, you're not hand painting, you're kind of just filling in the areas. And there's some tricks there too that I've found along the way that can make it a hell of a lot easier. So, and then we got shoes. So Jordan 1 Bloodlines. I've actually have a few pair of these super nice leather shoes. The leather on here is really nice and soft. Sometimes you get some of that leather on those Jordan 1s and they just totally suck. Yeah, Procreate is the program I use. So I upload the image into there. And then you can kind of play, you can do layers, right? So you can layer upon layer on this stuff. You can start a new layer. You can you know, make this, I want to make this blue, and I want to make this red, and I want to make this line yellow, and you know, whatever color you want to make it, you can kind of get a design in your head on what you want to do. You got to have a plan, right? You can't just jump in here and grab a bunch of paint and just go to town. I mean, you can, but if you have the ability to design it out first to kind of get a good idea of what you want to do, it really helps with your prepping and planning on everything. So I think I got a pretty good plan that I want to do, and a good design. And when you see it, it's going to be like, oh shit, you know, that looks just like, you know, it came out of the rookie card. All right, guys. So first step is to deglaze, which is basically just wipe off the finish, the factory finish off of these shoes on the places that we're going to apply paint. That way it's going to stick to the leather and it's going to adhere to it really well. And then at the end of the day, when this is all done, we're going to end up putting a new finish coat on top of it, so to protect the paint. So everything basically is going to get touched on here except for white. Anything that's white is not going to get for leather, and the tongue is going to stay that way. The other two spots will be this top black part is going to stay black. This little spot here is going to stay black, and the heel is going to stay black too, but we're going to put a stencil of the FLEER logo on the heel. You'll see the design picture. I'll flash it up here just to kind of give you an idea what the plan is. Things may change, you never know, but that's kind of the plan right now on what we want to do. So we'll get started. We will deglaze these spots, and I'll speed up the video so you can kind of see what's going on. We're going to use Angelus leather prepare and deglazer for this step, and cotton balls. And you just kind of want to just, you know, get the cotton ball with the glazer on it and just start wiping down that area that you're going to paint. Try to get as much of it as you can. On these Bloodlines, obviously you don't have to use this brand, you know, this version. You can just use regular Jordan 1s, you know, whatever color you want. You can start with white, all white. You know, those are pretty easy to come by, and then you can just customize them any way you want. So I just wipe them down until you kind of feel it gets kind of tacky. The leather does. That means you've got enough of that off of there to really get that paint to stick. So let's get a couple of these spots here. I'll show you and then I'll stop the video. I'll do the rest off camera just because this is a very awkward position to be in and I don't want to spill stuff or get in the way. But you can see it's coming, some of the paint's coming off, so you know you're kind of getting down to where you need to be. Okay. I'll do this quick and then I'll be back for step 2. All right guys, next step, got it all deglazed. All the black spots that we needed to get prepped. First color we're going to go with is we're going to do the nameplate color, that baby blue type of color. That one's going to go right here. I'm going to line this up here a little bit, and then this chunk right there on both sides. This light blue Angelus paint that we're going to use for that. If you want, you can always mask off the area so you don't get paint on the white or anything like that. I just shake up the bottle and I just use the paint that's inside the cap. You guys can do whatever you want, but you know, it doesn't take a lot of paint to cover some of this stuff up. Just light coats, as light as you can. Get them too thick. They can, you know, it dries and it can crack. So, but this paint here covers pretty quickly, pretty well. Once we get to the dark blue, we'll probably put a base coat down with this first. Another reason why I got into the customizing this and painting shoes was it was really therapeutic for me, a stress reliever. You're concentrating so hard on just being so precise with your brush that you kind of just forget about everything else. It's pretty deep, huh? I definitely recommend, you know, if you're new to it and don't have a real steady hand, to mask off the areas. You know, it makes it easier. You know, more prep in the beginning can really save time in the end, from what I've definitely learned in my experience so far, which is very limited. But all right, I'm just going to paint the rest of this and this side, and then we'll go to the next color. Okay guys, one more step before you start painting. I wish, you know, I'm kind of comfortable with not having this on there, but it just makes a good idea. Just take like a Walmart bag and just cover the tongue with it and just stuff everything behind it. That way you won't get any paint on it. It's a different fabric. It's, you know, kind of impossible to wipe off there once you get paint on it. So you can always paint over it, but this is just one less thing to worry about. So cover the bag, stuff it in there, and then you're good to go. Okay, I got everything taped off on the toe box. Be careful not to rub the wrong way on here. You start fraying it up and but I want to show you why we put a base coat down on dark colors sometimes. So this toe box panel is going to be fire red. This is one coat of fire red. You can, you know, it's going to take like 10 coats to even get to this color. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a base coat down of hot pink, and then a couple coats of this, and then it'll only take a couple coats of this after that. So that's what we'll do right now. Again, I just shake it up and I just use the cap, the paint in the cap. Doesn't take much. But you'll see the difference here. And then also this hot pink, it'll really make the red just pop right off. Hey everybody, just a little update. So I taped off some more stuff here just to make it a little bit easier so I don't have to worry about getting anything on some of that red fabric that's in there. Almost done with the pink base coat, which all those panels are going to be red. Toe box is pretty much ready to go. The swoosh is pretty much ready to go. Just got to do a couple of these spots here that I had tape on it earlier. So one more coat on this and then we should be getting into the red. Yeah, try to, you know, alternate patterns and brush strokes. You don't want them to always go the same way. You'll start getting those lines that'll look really fake, painted. Just kind of, you know, light brush strokes, different angles, things like that. Make it blend in better. If it gets a little tacky, if you kind of feel it on your brush, I would just maybe add a little bit more paint, cover up what you're working on, and then kind of move on. So you're not hitting spots that are trying to dry with new paint and it just gets all gummed up. All right, so got the tape off the toe cap. Taped up the this panel right here. We're going to put a base coat of this color down first, and then to paint it that darker blue. So I'm going to put the base coat down, and then we'll go from there. Got the base coats down on this side and that side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some paint to match this blue, dark grayish blue color. What I have is gray, that light blue, which is the base coat, blue, and then I also have white in case we need to, if we get too dark, we might need that. So I'll do my best here to try to remember how I make this color, and I'll let you guys know the recipe, so to speak, so as far as getting as close as possible. So we'll be back with that. So it didn't take that long at all to make this color. So if you want to take a look here, you know, get the blue, looks pretty close. It's gonna dry lighter, obviously, so. But it looks different on camera, that's for sure. I think it might just be the way the light's hitting it. But from what I can tell, just by looking at it with the naked eye, it's pretty close. It might need a little bit more gray, but it's damn close. So we'll put a couple drops of gray in here. Doesn't take much. Yeah, whenever you mix, you know, when you mix blue and blue, you kind of have, you can put more amounts in there just because it's complementary to each other, obviously. But when you put like white, if you took one drop of white and threw it in here, it would lighten it up quite a bit. So be careful with your white and black. I mean, literally just drops at a time if you're ever mixing paint to get to a certain color. Get some of these little, you know, mixing glasses. Man, that's pretty damn close. So I think we're just gonna roll with this, see what it looks like once we get a coat down, and then really get an idea of what it's gonna look like when it's dry, especially with this light base coat underneath it too. So we can't keep forgetting about that too. That's gonna affect it a little bit. So I'll get this paint out of the way. The beautiful thing about using like a box cover or cardboard is who cares what you spill on it. So here we go. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, so we're gonna paint this portion here with this new color we mixed up, and it's basically like, let's say 2 parts dark blue, 2 parts light blue, a few drops of gray, you know, keep adding that until you kind of hit your color. That's basically what I did. And again, it'll take a couple coats of this to get the true end color. You know, we gotta have a nice coverage on here. We don't want to see any brush strokes or anything like that on here. So just keep kind of painting it in, spreading it out as thin as you can. That way you'll get a good light coat. Might need to be darker. We'll see what happens. But since we painted this one, we're going to paint the other one. That way it's consistent whichever way we go. And then put another coat on If we have to darken it up after that, we'll do that. But this side looks really good. If anything needs to be changed, it's this color. You need to like add like yellow to it or something. That one looks good though, the dark blue. But this light blue, we might need to dink around with that one a little bit. So, let this dry, and I'm gonna get another little vial there so we can mix up some lighter blue, yellowish paint, because that's gonna bug me. Okay, so I went and downstairs, looked at the paint I have, got some Grinch green. This might, you know, if we add this to this light blue, maybe that'll get us closer to that type of color. I also brought some, Tiffany blue to see if we need to mix some stuff up, and then I got yellow as well. So we're gonna see what we can do. So base coat, base color first. Generally what you want to do is which color is closest to that color, right? So if you kind of put both of these on either side and look, it might be a combination of just these two might get us to where we want to go. So we'll start out with this color first, and then we'll just gradually add this to see if we get close to that. I'm just gonna go a quarter of the way up, because we really don't need that much. Yeah, man, one of these things will go a long way, a really long way. They also have smaller, like 1.5 ounce, I think they are. We'll just kind of get about a quarter of what, 25%. Whoa. So mixing it up, kind of looks like not much different than what we have there. It's more like still a kind of a baby blue look to it. It's close, but still doesn't have that greenish, it's like almost getting to that aqua. So I'm gonna try some of this Grinch green, just a little bit, see what happens. Might just need a touch of yellow, but we'll see what this does to it. And I'm just kind of holding it over in my view, just to kind of see what it looks like matched up against that. And it's definitely too light, so we're gonna add just regular dark blue, or this blue, in there, but just a couple drops at a time, more than a drop, but still needs to be darker. You can see it here or not. A little bit darker. Starting to run out of room here in the bottle. That's why you don't want to start with too much. You keep adding and adding and adding, you're gonna run out of space in the bottle to keep going if you have to or not. It's a tricky color. It's starting to look more like it though. I need to paint some on just to take a look and see what it looks like. Definitely has a better look to it. Definitely looks better. I don't know if it's exact, but it is damn close. I think if you keep mixing and mixing and mixing, you're just gonna drive yourself crazy, but this definitely looks good. now that I see it on here. Definitely a better contrast between the those two. Definitely looks more like what's on the card. Looks better in person, I think, than on camera. Yeah, most definitely. All right, that's cool. So that color combination was light blue and gift box blue we put in there at first. Then after that we added Grinch green. Added some of this in there. So it was like, you know, half of this to start. We put about 25, you know, I don't know, like 10% of what these two were together. We added that. We did not use yellow, but we used dark blue, this blue over here, to darken it up there at the end. One of the fun things about painting is just coming up with these colors, matching them. You know, you only need red, blue, and yellow, and you can make every color. And black and white, obviously you need those two, but if you have red, blue, and yellow, you can make whatever color you want. Alright, so we got our colors mixed up. So what we're gonna do is I'll finish off this part with the darker blue, let that get those coats down, and then we'll paint these with that new color like that. And then after that we should be ready to go, and then we're gonna have, you know, Chicago like it is on his jersey up there, and then we'll go through that process. So I made the stencil with the Chicago lettering font. It's pretty, you know, all things considered, it's a pretty small stencil. What I did was I basically brought over the Jordan jersey into Procreate, which is an app for iPad Pro, traced out the lettering, and then I downloaded that picture, brought it into the Cricut app, cleaned it up, threw it down on the mat, and cut it out. So what I did was I just put transfer paper over the whole thing, kind of like this. So it says Chicago in there. I don't know if you can see it or not through the transfer paper, but, and then I put the whole thing down and pressed it in there really good. And then I pulled out the transfer paper, and then I weeded out with this tool all of the areas that are going to be white. So what I'm going to do is, before I start painting white, I'm going to put down it's basically a transparent paint. It's like a clear. So, and what I do with that, just going to fill all that in, and what it's going to do, it's going to fill in all the little cracks and crevices that would be like on any edge that's open here, so that the paint doesn't bleed into it. And that way it'll be nice and crisp, clean edges all the way around this thing. In the past I've done this not even thinking about it, and the paint seeped in, and it was just a nightmare because I had to go and repair, you know, touch up paint on all the edges all the way around it with just a little tiny brush, and it was just a pain in the ass. So we're gonna do that first. I'm gonna go get that, paint that on here, and then once I have a couple coats on there kind of filling in those gaps, then we'll just go over it with white and we'll pull it off. So basically everything that's in the lettering that's in black is actually going to be black, so we're going to have to paint that by hand. It should turn out okay. So I'm going to get to it, and then the next step will hopefully be throwing down some white paint. Alright, so here's what I used. It's called Neutral. It's acrylic paint that just dries clear. So I used this, and I put a pretty good serving of this stuff on here. You can kind of see, like right there, got some left on there. But you want to try to get, you know, you want to hit the edges and you want to kind of push it in a little bit. Be somewhat aggressive trying to get it in there. Obviously there's going to be spots that are going to bleed that I just can't get, you know, the stencil to really stick in some of those cracks in that Air Jordan logo underneath there that we're going over. So there will be some touch-up stuff. It'll just be on the outside because, again, in the, you know, what's in black there, the Chicago is going to get painted black. So I think it'll help out quite a bit. It'll save some down, you know, some time on touch-ups and things like that. But I think we're going to start throwing down the white here in a little bit, and then we'll put the video on as I peel it off and see how bad I screwed up. Well, we're going to try to peel off the stencil. I'm very worried about it, just because there's so many coats of paint on there now. White's really tough to cover up, you know, red or any color for that matter. So I put the 2 base coats down of the neutral to fill in the cracks around the stencil, and then I put about 4 coats of white on here to finally get a total coverage. I'm worried that there's so many coats of paint that when I pull the stencil off, it's going to pull the paint right with it. But we will see what happens. Let's just do it, see what happens here. Very worried about it. But I'll peel slow. If I got to use a X-Acto knife to cut around some stuff, I can do that. I'm also worried that the stencil might peel off some of the red that we put down too. Kind of came up a little bit there. You see where it kind of bled through. Kind of try to pull it kind of at an angle away. Keep it down. Definitely don't rush it. See that little thing popped up there? Not too worried, because I can go over it with this neutral again to kind of seal it down if there are some spots that lift up. And then of course when we put the final finish over the top of this newly painted stuff with this satin acrylic finish, that'll help keep it down too. Actually, that didn't turn out too bad. So that's the outside. I mean, there definitely is some areas where we'll need to touch up the red over some of that white that kind of seeped through some of the cracks, but all in all, it doesn't look that bad at all. Looks pretty good, actually. Okay, now we're gonna try to pick up the lettering. So I want to just try to get it started. sure I got the camera so you can see it here. You see how the white really filled in there because of that end of that Jordan logo. Trying to get it so I don't I keep it going instead of getting it to stop every single time you get to that thin spot. I don't want to use that weeding tool too much because of that sharp edge on it. I don't want to ding up the leather underneath it by scraping at it too much. Gotta get this whole chunk out of there. It's probably best to airbrush this shit on. But I just wanted to be able to show you that it is possible to do without investing in an airbrush. And if anybody's watching that has an airbrush and does this, you'll know what to do. I would definitely put down the stencil of the black first if that's possible. When you paint this whole patch red. Probably wouldn't have had any issues at all if I would have put this on a flat piece of leather on the shoe instead of right over the Jordan logo. But there's really no other place to put it, I thought, to have it look, you know, somewhat like an actual jersey, you know. I mean, you can't, it's got to be a red panel, otherwise it doesn't make much sense. And I'm putting the FLEER logo on the bottom, so this was kind of the only logical place to put it. I thought about putting it on this white panel, like painting this white red and leaving the swoosh black and then kind of having that in the background, but I think this will look best at the end of the day. But for how many coats I put down, it's actually peeling up pretty good. So if you see this part right here, the C and the bottom of the G and the O, everything that was in the flatter part of the font really turned out pretty good. Didn't bleed at all, especially. So like on the C there, it looks really, really good until it gets into this part where this is where the flight logo, the wings logo starts to show up. But all in all, it didn't turn out that bad. You know, it won't take much to really touch up that stuff on the outside with red. So I think what we'll do now is we'll worry about touching up the red on the outside until we lay down the black. That way we're not, you know, going over a spot that we think needs red when it's actually gonna be covered up with black anyways. So here's a little sneak peek at some of the black I've laid down. This is the size of the tip that I'm using. It's pretty small. With all the coats of white that are on there, it kind of gives it you know, a raised edge, so to speak. So you can kind of just glide along the brush right on the edge there. But just take your time. I mean, literally just dots at a time on your tip of your brush to fill that in. It doesn't take much. And just take a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. You don't want to overdo it, go too fast, because then you'll cross over onto the white, and then you have to come back with white and touch it up like I did right here. Right there's a little spot that I got to come back and cover that up with. I went over the edge here a little bit with the black, so I'll have to come in here and touch that up a little bit with some more white, or just leave it. It looks okay. But getting there. It's taken a while, but I think some of the hardest part is done with all these little spots here. So the C is pretty easy. Okay, I got the black down. So right now, I'm gonna go in and trim up all the outside and all the red spots. And then we should be pretty damn close to knocking out the font here. All right, got it done. Got all the touch-ups done all the way around the edges. Redid some white, redid some black, and I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Looks pretty good right now. I mean, unless you get right up in there, you'll see some little brush strokes and things like that, possibly towards some of those little swoop ups and these little things here. You know, trying to get a perfect point is pretty difficult, but I think it looks pretty good. Got this one all taped up and ready to paint the base coat of light pink on the swoosh and the toe cap area, black. The black area is gonna be all pink on both sides. And then after we get that laid down, we'll paint it red. So I got the red coat down. I started peeling it off. It was coming off really clean, so I want to make sure you guys saw it. Not a lot of spots that were getting too out of hand. I try to use really light coats, but I think I might have got on some of the cut edge on some pieces with red, but whatever. Pretty minor. But it looks sick just like this. And generally you can get these, they were in stock for a long time, and they were dropping more and more. You can probably get them on StockX for pretty cheap. I'm not sure, but I have like one more pair of these that I want to just kind of keep as the originals, but I don't know, this is kind of dope. I took my time on this toe box just to make sure that I was just covering up the line, the white line, and not getting anything off, so it didn't get anything anywhere else but where I wanted it. Sometimes it's tricky to really get it in there all the way, but that looks pretty good. Might just want to, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to leave this tape on the toe box just because I'll be painting this blue. And when I do that, you know, if something drops or drips on there, I don't have to worry about cleaning it up. So we'll leave it at that, but I think it turned out really, really good. I don't think I have like any major or any problems that I notice right off the bat. I mean, I got some tape and shit I gotta kind of clean up here yet, little pieces I gotta pluck out. But for the most part, it looks really good. So now I'm gonna put down the blue base coat, which is the light blue. So I'm gonna put that here, here, and on the other side as well, and then up on this little tiny spot up there. And then this is getting that lighter blue, that color that we custom made, and this is getting the dark one that we the dark blue that we custom made there. And then once we get that done, I'm gonna throw down the 23 on here, and then we're gonna paint that in just by hand. I thought about airbrushing it, but I kind of wanted to keep it, you know, very similar to that one, so I kind of want to do the same process, but maybe I'll change my mind and just airbrush it when we do the FLEER logos. On the FLEER logos, I made them a little bit bigger this time to try to fill this in more instead of having that little one. So it might be easier to do if it's a little bit bigger. Everything kind of spreads out more, and it'll be a lot easier to read too. So, but otherwise, these are coming along really, really good. But I just like the looks of this, actually. I might take this stuff off, just take a picture of it like that to put it on Instagram. So I might do that. All right, got the light blue down. Yeah, once your paint cures that you put on there, it's okay to put tape on it, but I would make sure that the paint has at least cured overnight before you start putting tape on it. You wouldn't want to have something, you know, get pulled up. Watch what happens. I'll probably do it now that I said it. Then you'd have to go back, put a base coat down, repaint it again, and it's just a, you know, time waster. And once you pull up a part of it, it's really hard because you might have a little bit of a almost like a indentation where that paint used to be, and then trying to fill in that little spot, you can still kind of see where it kind of came out. I've had that happen before on midsoles and stuff, and it's just a pain. But that looks pretty good. What I did was, for here too, I just laid a piece of masking tape right down the middle here and covered up this whole section. And then I just took an X-Acto knife and just worked my way around, just kind of right on the edge, so that the tape just kind of laid flat down on that red Bloodline fabric there. Worked pretty good. That way we don't have to keep cutting little pieces of tape off and placing them down by hand. That takes a long time and can get really time consuming, and then you kind of lose focus on what you're doing and don't get the tape in the right spots, and you know, as well as you could, because this is definitely the longest work. The time that you have to put into it is prep. The painting doesn't take that long. Got the blue all done, so we'll pull off the tape here. And then what we're going to do, I put the stencils on, so that's where the FLEER logo is going to go. The 23 is going to be right there. I was thinking about airbrushing it, but I think I have a different way to do it with just a brush to show you. And what I did is I have like 4 or 5 different stencils. So this one here, first with neutral to fill in the little cracks and crevices so it doesn't bleed out too bad. This is going to be all white. We're going to pull that stencil up. We're going to throw this one down and then paint it red. So where it says FLEER, that's going to cover up the white, and also the flag is going to be covered up. The only thing that's going to get red is the top part. Throw this one down, and then we'll paint this one yellow. Then we'll pull that one up. And we'll throw this one down over the top of it. And this is where we'll trace out the outline of the flag, the word premiere. So just kind of trace that out, and that should give us what we need for the font there. And I think that should pretty much do it. But yep, so right now, that's what we're gonna do with that. But also up here is the 23 stencil. So what I'm gonna do here is just paint that. This is just gonna be white at the end of the day. I'm gonna put neutral in here first, a couple good coats, just to kind of fill in some of these cracks, so it doesn't bleed too bad. And then white, a couple coats, make sure that it's totally covered and thick so you can't see through it or isn't showing any red through it. We might put a base coat of pink down just to kind of lighten it up a little bit so the red isn't poking through too much. And then after the white's down, we'll pull that up, and then we'll do like we did with the word Chicago. We'll fill in the black inside of it, and then do any touch-ups around the edges with red if the white bled at all. So I got some of the neutral right here, and we'll just kind of just paint a little bit, just kind of show you. You know, don't be afraid to get it in there. Again, this neutral, it dries clear. But again, just make sure you get a good coverage. Yeah, I was gonna airbrush, or thinking about airbrushing, but I just really don't have a place to set it up right now. And I had to pull everything out, and it just sounded like a lot of work. I just didn't want to do it. So got everything up here on the dining room table to try to finish this thing out. Getting close, so, but I think we got a pretty good system with this, with these stencils for the FLEER logo. After each coat or each color we put down, we're just gonna pull up the stencil after each one and put a new one down. And I think it should work out pretty well. And then once we get all those stencils down, the last part will be putting the black dye or paint on the threading on the midsole, and then also this line here, the top line, we're gonna make yellow going across, like the yellow outline on the Jordan card on the border. But before we do that, there's one step that we need to do. We'll need to tape it off, basically the whole shoe. We're gonna have to tape off, except for that one line. And what we need to do is spray some adhesive promoter. And what it does is it's kind of like a primer type of application for like plastic and hard plastics and things like that to help paint stick to it. So we'll spray that on just that line, and then we'll put down a coat of yellow, and then we'll follow it up with another coat of, on top of that we'll put a coat of Raleigh Restoration's scratch resistant sealer, and then we'll put another layer of yellow down, and then another layer on top of that of the sealer, and we'll repeat that about 3 or 4 times, maybe more, and then that way that paint won't rub off. It'll stay on there pretty well. So I used it on the Beastie Boy shoes I did, the Hot Sauce Committee ones, and I have yet to like actually strap those on and wear them. I just love the way they look, and I'm just afraid that they're gonna get ruined if I wear them. But I'll make sure I show you guys those too. That was one of the last pairs I did, and it was a lot of stencils, a lot of hand painting. I did not use an airbrush. I screwed up a lot, especially on the midsole where it says Beastie Boys Hot Sauce Committee Part 2. think I had to redo that thing like 3 times. Okay, so got a good coats on here. Probably getting too much actually, but we'll just try to rub this stuff in, and then we'll throw down some white. All right, here's a little update. Almost had a really big issue here. So I put the stencil on, I painted the white in. The white ran like crazy into the middle here where that basketball is, and part of that logo underneath the Wings logo. And it, like, when it ran, it just kind of sat there in different spots, and it was really, really thick and just horrible. So what I did was I took a Q-tip, dipped it in acetone, and I just ran it up and down the middle here to kind of knock that paint down to get it off. And then I repainted that portion pink to put that base coat down because there was some black showing through the red when I was cleaning it up. Did that. I touched up some red around here, filled in the black of the 23, and then now I'm just kind of touching it up. So I'm gonna finish off the get all the white first, then the red, and then I will touch up anything else I need to do with black and white as I kind of work my way around and make sure I got everything filled in. But it looks a lot better than it was. I think it's gonna look great when it's done. Just some little repair there that I had to do, but it's coming together pretty nice. That black and white just really pops off that red though. It just looks sick. So FLEER logo, we put down the white first, and then I pulled off the stencil. The stencils are really, really, really sticky. There's adhesive that's probably left around the edges here that I'm gonna have to clean up before we put the finishing coats on here. But so I'll put the white down, and then I put that stencil down with the FLEER and the yellow flag, and then I put the top in pink base coat because that's going to be red. And then once that red's done, we can pull up the FLEER name and just touch up around there if we need to, and then we'll finish off the yellow of the flag here. I should just be able to fill that in with yellow, and then we can use that Sharpie to do the outlines and stuff like that. So, but it's coming together pretty well. Took a little time here, that detour with fixing something here, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. So next one up, you'll probably see it red with the white FLEER and the yellow band, and then we're going to be pretty damn close to being done here. I actually used a paintbrush, a really, really fine paintbrush, painted in the letters for Premiere, and also the outline of the yellow banner and the flags on the right side there and up on top. So turned out pretty well, actually. You know, I think I got a couple little touch-up spots to do, but I really don't want to overdo it. I think it looks really good considering it's all hand painted with just a stencil. So I just got to do that with this one over here, and that'll wrap up the logo. And then what I also did was I was kind of looking at it, and you know, based on the preliminary design, I had a yellow band on it, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to overdo it. How's that going to look? And then I saw, oh, I have some yellow electrical tape. And what I did was I just wrapped it right around and cut it off with an X-Acto knife to take a look at and see what it would look like. And I think it looks pretty sick, actually. It gives it that yellow border that is definitely on the card, that, you know, encases the picture of the Jordan rookie card. And then so this is just a yellow tape I have on here now. I'm gonna peel that off. We're gonna put some of that adhesive promoter on there to help the paint stick to it, and then we will outline the bottom thread with black going around. Still up in the air if I'm going to put black border on top of here as well. On the fence about that yet, but we'll see what happens, how it looks with it on the bottom first. So that's kind of where we're at. I did all my touch-ups on the 23. It looks really, really good. You know, if you really get your eyeballs in there, you can kind of see where the paint's a little thick there in the middle, but you know, eyeball test from, you know, a couple feet away, if they're on your feet, whatever, nobody's gonna notice that. It looks really, really good. So that's kind of where we're at. We're gonna work on this, the rest of the FLEER logo on this right shoe, and then we're going to, you know, start painting this strip yellow. Okay, I taped off the line with masking tape, and then I took a plastic bag and I taped that all the, you know, so I don't get any of that spray, that adhesive promoter on the leather. So I just taped the bag using the masking, you know, just taped it right to the top of that so we don't get any on there. So we'll spray that stuff on there, give it a few hours, and then it'll dry and cure, and then we'll be ready to go to paint that line yellow. This is the adhesive promoter that I used. It's called Bulldog. If there is one thing that I can say about this stuff, do not use this in your house, inside your garage, or anywhere where there are in some sort of enclosed doors at any time. This stuff stinks, and it is super powerful. It's like an instant headache. So just be careful when you use this stuff. Use a mask if you have to. It's probably recommended, but it definitely works. Just want to give you a shot of the stencil here for the word premiere. What I did was cut another stencil out, pulled out the word premiere out of there, the outline, and then I just put another piece to outline this whole thing out. This side doesn't matter because it's black. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the neutral color, I'm going to paint that on to kind of fill in all the cracks so it doesn't bleed, and then paint that black, and then we should be good. I got the stencil painted black for the lettering and the word premiere across the yellow flag, and the outline, everything. So we're going to peel off the stencil and see how it looks. I just used one coat of the neutral and then one coat of black, basically one good coat of black. I didn't want to get too much on there to pull up anything weird, so. But see, it's nice. It should be nice crisp lines. Again, take your time pulling the stuff off. You don't want to pull any of the previous paint up. Okay, we'll just pull this. Some adhesive gets left behind from the stencil sometimes. What we can do there is just use some a Q-tip and some deglazer on that, or acetone to peel that away. That's nice, that looks good. You'll see some little yellow, you know, I didn't get it totally covered with the other stencil I laid down, so we'll just touch that up with black paint up here too. The word premiere looks like it's coming out pretty good. I would say, you know, as a habit to use neutral for any type of stencil that you put down, so you avoid any type of bleeding, or at least limit it, because this turned out really, really good compared to the other one. The other one looks okay, but it's not as nice as this one. So looks good. I'll do some touch-ups around here, and then I think we're probably done. You know, I was debating whether or not to put a black line on top of this yellow too, but I think if I do that, it might just cause way too much eye focus to that stripe and not the rest of the shoe. So I'm just gonna leave the black outline on the thread line and leave it as that. I think it looks pretty good. It's just enough to show you the definition of that line, and but not overpowering. But otherwise, these look pretty good, pretty sick. So we'll touch them up, and then we'll put our finishing coat on. Got all the stencils touched up. Any little imperfections, I kind of went around and made sure that we touched them up a little bit, cleaned them up, cleaned the soles, all the adhesive from any masking tape, things like that. I removed with some acetone off the soles and the midsole. But everything looks really good. So right now, the last step is just to kind of cover the shoe on this acrylic finisher to protect the paint, and then we'll lace them up and we'll be done. Here is the end product. Got the Angelus satin finisher done, and I only used that on the panels that we painted and the yellow stripe. I did not use it on the white leather or the black leather, and reason why is that we didn't, you know, really paint it that much or at all. And also, you know, I kind of like the matte contrast to the satin finish. So the white's matte finish and the black is, and then all the painted areas have a little satin sheen to it, which I think looks really cool. So everything looks great. Final product, super happy with it. Went with black laces. I tried red, I tried white, but black just made it look so much better. And really, we needed a little bit extra black in there anyways, because the card's kind of dominated by it a little bit. But everything looks really good on these. Here's the other one. This one turned out just fabulous. So good. So I want to appreciate everybody for sticking with me through this whole video. I know it was a long one, but there was so many steps to do, and I really wanted to give you guys a full tutorial on what I did. You know, some of the sections were a little bit on the long side, but I really wanted you guys to know exactly what happened. So appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I want to put out more content, more custom sneakers and everything of that nature. So we will see you on the next video. Thank you.